when I was at a card show recently, I saw a Robin Yount 1975 rookie card, and it was pretty sweet. And the price on it blew my mind at how low it was. And I was really thinking, why are the 70s so overlooked? You know, the 80s are so much more well known. You know, you've got a big card like the Rickey Henderson. You've got a super popular card like the Ken Griffey Jr. You've got rookies of Tony Gwynn and Don Mattingly and Cal Ripken and Wade Boggs and a lot of these really good players. And then you've got some iconic cards that were Grail cards for a lot of us for years, like the Jose Canseco rookie card or the Mark McGuire Olympic card. And the more I started thinking about it, I started looking at other cards from the 70s, and it's like they're all really cheap. And I don't really understand why they're cheap. I mean, for a lot of us that were collectors during junk wax, it's well before that. I know it doesn't have the names of like the Aarons and the Mantles and the Bankses and stuff like that. But, you know, there are some really good players that had rookies during that decade and that had a lot of really cool cards during that decade. The affordability of them is unbelievable. So what I wanted to do is I went through the 70s set by set, and I picked out some cards that I thought would look good in any collection, 20 of them. I took 20 cards and I was like, you know, if you're more of a modern guy and these are kind of vintage for you, they would be great. If you are a vintage collector, there's still some of those big vintage names, but also some of the guys that came in and took over right after a lot of those guys started to retire. So 20 cards from the 1970s that I think would go well in any collection. And they're ranked. And I'm going to show you how I ranked them right now.
All right, so few rules on how this is going to go. These are all cards from the 1970s. Now, back then, it was pretty much Topps as the dominator. So they're almost all going to be Topps cards from the 70s. They are ranked by the most recent PSA 7 sale on eBay. So I'm going to provide you a whole bunch of information for each card. I'm going to tell you the PSA price guide values, the PSA population reports, and the most recent sale for PSA, just to be consistent, of a 5 through a 9 grade for each of the 20 cards. In addition to that, I just want to point out the reason I'm using PSA is because the volume of cards out there graded by PSA is so much bigger than any other company. I wanted to just stay standardized, so they are all in PSA grades when we're talking about the values of the most recent sale. So let's go ahead and start things off. We're going to start with number 20, and we're going to work our way up to number 1. So the 20th card is an Andre Dawson rookie card. Andre Dawson is a Hall of Famer. According to PSA, his 7 goes for $55 and his 8 is worth $135. Now, the most recent eBay sale for a 5 was $20.64. The most recent sale for a 6 is $37. For a 7, which you'll see is highlighted, is $46. The reason it's highlighted is because that's the number I used to rank these 20 cards. So it's from least expensive to most expensive of the 20. An 8 is only $128, and then at a 9, it starts to pop up a little bit. Now, if you look at the bottom, I also included a pop report, because last time I shared some values, people said, well, the reason the value jumps is because of the population report. So I included that resource for you as well. All right, the 19th ranked card is a Jim Rice rookie card. 1975 Jim Rice. Now, this is kind of a tough set with the colored borders. They chip pretty easily. Remember, the paper quality back then isn't nearly what it is now. So a PSA 7, according to PSA, is worth $75, but the most recent eBay sale for a 7 was $47. Now, again, Jim Rice is in the Hall of Fame. Now, whether or not he should be in the Hall of Fame, that is up for debate. But you could get his rookie in an 8 for $100, a 6. Now, the difficulty with which they're grading now, a 6 is a really, really nice card, and it's $36. I mean, it costs $20 to $25 just to grade a card. So when you're buying the card for $36, $25 of that's the plastic for the case. All right, number 18 is a Dale Murphy rookie card. Now, whether he belongs in the Hall of Fame or not is often debated. But if you look here, a 5 recently sold for $20. And a 6. Now, this guy's a back-to-back MVP player. He hit over 400 home runs, a really good defensive player, really strong arm. And a 7 is $61.95 was the most recent sale. So, again, you can see how PSA's price guide compares to the actual sales data. And some of you will say, well, it depends. Was the PSA 6 of the most recent one centered? If it wasn't centered, that throws it off. Okay, fair. I'm just telling you, PSA's most recent 6 that sold for that amount. Number 17 is one of the few times that there's a rookie card with multiple Hall of Famers on it. Alan Trammell and Paul Molitor rookie cards. Now, if you look over at the right, it says an 8 goes for $233. That is about what the last one sold for. But look at that 7. You can get a rookie card of 2 Hall of Famers in one card for $64. And again, look at the 6s. $35. Now, a 5 for $12.50. Are you kidding me? Again, it's $20 to $25 just to grade a card. So when you're buying a card for $35, $20 to $25 into that card is the grading fee. So you're really paying $10 for the card. And again, at the bottom, you can see the pop report if that is something that's interesting to you. It's not super interesting to me, to be honest, because I'm just a collector. I don't mind so much how rare a card is. All right, next up is a 78 Eddie Murray rookie card. Really cool rookie cup, rookie card. And a 7 goes for $67. Again, the 5 is $21.50. And as hard as they're grading cards right now, I really think a lot of 5s, if you look and you see it's a newer holder and a newer grade, a 5 is a lot of times a pretty nice looking card. I mean, there are people that buy packs for more than $20. People spend $35, $40 on a blaster box of new Prism cards. And an Eddie Murray rookie card in a PSA 6 holder is $46. Unbelievable. Next one on the list, we've got Gary Carter. Now, Gary Carter is a many-time over all-star and was a standout in a big media market for a long time. And again, look at these prices. PSA's price guide says it's worth $80, but the most recent sale was $68. But look at the 6 again. $38 for a Gary Carter rookie card. You can get an 8 for $161. Again, the population report down at the bottom. I mean, there's not a million of these that have been graded. These are not 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Juniors with, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that have been graded. There's just a little over 4,000 Gary Carter rookie cards that have ever been graded. And a 6 is $38. All right, next on the list, number 14 card I think would look good in any collection from the 1970s, Dennis Eckersley. Now, this is a guy who won the Cy Young and League MVP in the same year. as a reliever. Now, his card in a 7 last sale was $80. You can see that's just about what PSA's price guide says it's worth. But again, look at that sweet spot in the 6s. You can get a pretty nice card in a 6 for $35. Again, 25 of that is the PSA or SGC fee, so you're really buying the card for about $10. And again, just over 4,000 of these graded. These are not junk wax. These are not cards where, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them out there. There's a lot. There's more. They're not Gaudies, but they're still affordable. All right, Dave Winfield, another Hall of Famer. Now, according to PSA, his 7 goes for $110. Now, Dave Winfield, again, another big, strong arm out in right field. Had a lot of home runs, had over 400 home runs as well. PSA 7 for $86. But again, a 6 is $57. This card's from 1974. I mean, this card is almost, catch this, 50 years old. It's almost 50 years old. And in a 6, it's $57. In a 5, it's $49. In a 7, now, if a card is recently graded in a 7, that thing is really nice card. $86. Now, it steps up a little bit at the 8, but still. All right, number 12. Another Hall of Famer. Another catcher. Carlton Fisk. An iconic Red Sox and White Sox. His big highlight, obviously coming with the Red Sox. And that home run down the left field line. PSA's price guide says a 6 goes for about $50. We'll see what it actually did go for here in a second. Pop report, we've got just over 6,000 of them have been graded. Again, that's not a ton. Well, according to PSA, they say a 7's worth $125, but the most recent one was $89. A 6, $44. $44 for a 1972 card. A card that is 51 years old in a PSA 6 for $44. All right. Reggie Jackson's second year card. So again, we know the expensive 69 tops Reggie Jackson, but the 70 is a cool looking card. I like that kind of tighter shot. Look at him posing there, looking like he's looking at the ball in his A's uniform. And a 7 goes for $128.50, which again is less than the PSA price guide. PSA price guide is not super close sometimes. But the 6, it's close at $64. But again, you can get a 5 for $35. You can get a 6 for $64. Now, once you get up to the 8s and the 9s, the population report are really low. I mean, if you look up there on the population report, there's less than 100 in a 9. So one has not sold recently, so I don't have a recent comp for you. But cool card, second year of one of the best home run hitters ever. All right, to that, Robin Yount I referenced in the intro. Again, the one I saw at a show recently was a 6. And I was just blown away at how cheap it was. The one I saw at the show that day, I think it was selling for $65. Now, this one in a 6, the most recent eBay sale, was $73. The 7 goes for $133, which is pretty close to what PSA says. Again, PSA's price guide seems to be a little higher than what they're actually going for on eBay recently. I just included that, so it's another resource. Again, it could depend on how nice that 7 was, but it gives us a quick snapshot of what they are going for. Now, this one actually has a higher pop report. Might be because it's a more expensive card, so there's more incentive to send it in. Now, a really, really cool card that is out there, and a lot of us would recognize it, is this, Hank Aaron Home Run King card. after breaking the all-time career home run record. It's a really cool card, and in a high grade, it is pretty expensive. In an 8, it's at $375 according to PSA. The most recent one sold for $360, and a 7 sold for $137. But again, a 5 for $43 and a 6 for $78. That seems pretty doable for a pretty recognizable card. I mean, a lot of us have seen this card and recognized this card. And again, if you look here at the Pop Report, there's not a ton of them that have been graded. And there are very few that have been graded as an 8 or a 9. All right, number 8 is a Bert Blyleven rookie. Now, one of the reasons this card is more expensive than some in the PSA 7 is because of that tough black border, right? So if we look, PSA says that a 6 is worth $70 and a 7 is $190. But the most recent 7 sold for $163 on eBay. And again, a 6. Now, a 1971 Topps in that brutal border in a 6 is a really, really nice looking card. I mean, it's so hard to get a high grade here, and that's why you could see the 8 jumps way up because there just aren't very many. But Bert Blyleven, I mean, this guy, his career numbers are really high. I think he might have the best curveball of all time. I mean, if you go back and watch some highlights on YouTube of Bert Blyleven striking guys out with his curveball, it is unbelievable. All right, next up is the last Willie Mays card in a Giants uniform. Now, the 73 Topps, he is in a Mets uniform, where some of us remember he finished his career. But the 72 is his last Giants card, which is what reason I think it would be a cool card for a lot of collectors to have. And if you look there, again, a 5 is just $56, a 7 at $172.50. Again, PSA is a little high for the 6s and 7s, but a little low for the most recent 8 that sold. But really, really nice card. Really cool card to get the last Giants card of Willie Mays. And I don't know, like it just seems like every collection can use a Willie Mays, and every collection could use a Willie Mays and a Giants card. All right, getting toward the end here, we've got an Ozzie Smith rookie card. Again, I've mentioned the Ozzie Smith before and how much I like this card. It's a cool card, and it's a really, really hard card to get centered. Really hard to find a centered one of these. This 79 set is brutal. That's why the packs and boxes sell for so much. But you can get one in a 6 for $57. Now, the PSA guide says $450 for a 7, but one recently sold for $177, and an 8 even sold for $350. So I'm not sure what's going on there with PSA on this one, but again, that's why I'm going to give you a snapshot of not just the PSA guide, but what they're actually selling for. Number 5, we're down to the top 5. Thurman Munson rookie. Again, we go back to that 70 set. You know, Thurman Munson's one of those guys that a lot of people feel should be a Hall of Famer. His career ended prematurely. If he had kept playing, you know, catchers don't have a lot of the big power numbers of other guys. But you can get this in a 5 for $62. The 6 recently sold for $186, while the PSA price guide looks low on this one at $115. Also low in the 8. And if you look at the bottom, again, you know, just about 5,000 of them have been graded. So we kind of sometimes lump 70s in with 80s as junk wax. But if you look at those pop reports, they're just not. So many fewer have been graded than cards from the 80s. All right, so we got a 75 George Brett rookie card. George Brett was an awesome hitter. He's one of these guys. I have so much respect for the fact that he stayed with his same team for so long, played with so much intensity. A 5 goes for $86, a 6 for $153. Once you get to a 7, we're now getting into the higher end of, a lot of us what we would consider affordable. But $256 for a 7, PSA says $340, but you can see it's selling for a lot less than that right now. And the pop report here is a little bit higher. Again, part of the reason sometimes the pop report's a little higher is because the card's more valuable. So it's more cost effective to get it graded than some of the lesser valued cards. But still, not super common. Now this is a really cool, 2 of the most likable and effective managers of all time, who were also really good players, Dusty Baker and Don Baylor, in their same rookie card there, and it's the Brutal 71 set. Now, PSA seems way off on the 6 and 7 here. Way off. And the 8. Look at what they're selling for. A 5 for $109, a 6 for $152, a 7 for $280. Again, the black border makes it really hard to get a high grade in these cards. There hasn't even been a 9 selling recently. And, PSA is saying a 6 for $42. Well, if you see one for $42, buy it for me. I'll pay you back because I don't think you're going to see that. Now, Nolan Ryan had to make the list, and you could make the argument that the 70 is the card from the 1970s to get. There's a couple other that are really cool looking cards, but for me, I there's something about this card from 71. Maybe that it's tough. Maybe it's that you see him mid-pitch on the actual mound. Maybe it's that he's still in a Mets uniform. I really like this card a lot. A 6, again, is going for about $225. A 7, it's starting to get really expensive. But a 5's still pretty affordable. And again, for such a tough card with this set, it does seem like, there aren't a ton of 7s or 8s. And if you look on the pop report, there aren't, which is one of the reasons that the price starts jumping so much. But it's a really cool card for Nolan Ryan fans. And then the Mike Schmidt rookie card. I mean, you could make the argument that Mike Schmidt is the best third baseman, offensive third baseman. He was also good defensively, but I think most people would say Brooks Robinson was better. But as far as a hitter, if you're going to pick an all-time team, who's your all-time third baseman, I think a lot of people would pick Mike Schmidt. PSA 5 goes for $200. That's not too bad. And a 6, again, with the tougher grading standards, 5s and 6s are pretty nice cards. So getting a 6 for $303, I mean, you're talking about one of the best, if not the best third baseman of all time. His rookie card, and I know people don't like the fact that it's a multiplayer card. If you look at the pop report, it's still under 10,000. So tell me what you think about that list. Which ones did I leave off? I know you're going to tell me one. Let me know which one I didn't include that I should have.